everyone, it's Mindy Egan. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about coloring on your die cuts for the most amazing and detailed look. Now, this video is also a part of a video hop with Hero Arts celebrating their new spring collection. Down below in the video description, I will have links to the products I'm using today. I will also have a link to the next person in the video hop, and then be sure to check that out because we have prizes to give away. The two products that I'm going to be using today is the Trellis Window and the Morning Glory. So these are both dies, and I really do love coloring on my die cuts. I don't do it as often as I should, but they really do give the most amazing result, and it's pretty forgiving. I did do some die cutting off screen, so I have the Trellis and I also have the Morning Glory, both die cut from Deluxe Smooth White Cardstock from Hero Art. And here is my idea is to have that trellis on the front of a card with the morning glory kind of draped across the front. Now, I did speed the coloring up quite a bit. I tried to leave as much in the video as I could without boring you, but I'll talk you through parts of it. So this is the trellis window, and it would look really pretty left as white, but I really did want to color it in. You could also start with a light brown cardstock if you prefer. This one, just out of white, I just felt kind of gave me more of a starting point where I could decide what color I wanted things to be. I am using my Olo markers to color in the trellis, and I'm trying to add some shading. I will have the actual colors that I'm using for my Olo markers linked on my blog. So if you're interested in those colors, you can check that out. That my blog post will be linked in the video description as well. I have 3 different colors that I picked out for my brown shades, so I'm trying to add some shadow areas to my trellis. And I am coloring on top of a piece of light gray cardstock so that, for one, you can see my coloring and also I can see it. A lot of times I will put like a white cardstock down to catch all of that excess ink that's being placed on there. But with white on white, that would have been pretty hard to see. So light gray or really any color of cardstock would be good just to help really get that in focus. Now, after a while, you can see I have a lot of excess ink there on that cardstock. And every now and then I'll take my trellis and kind of move it over to my work surface to see where I'm at. How are my shadows looking? Or where did I maybe miss some coloring? So that's a good thing to do is just take it over to kind of a plain open space, take a good look at it, and see where you may need to fill in some areas. Now, if you don't want to do any die cut or coloring on your die cuts, another thing you could do is if you have some wood grain cardstock, I think that would be really pretty to use. And even a white cardstock would have been really pretty with the trellis because I'm picturing my mom's trellis with the morning glories, and I think hers is white, but I just thought the brown would stand out nicely. Now I'm moving on to coloring in the leaves. Again, I have a 3 marker color combination from Olo Marker. Again, that will be listed on my blog too. So if you're interested in that color combination. And I started out with the lightest color first. So I was kind of wetting the cardstock to just help that blend a little bit better. It's a little bit different when you're coloring on die cuts, I feel, because there are those lines in there that the dyes provide to show texture on the leaves. So I feel like just wetting it first helped me blend it a little bit better. So I am going to pop on some music while I finish coloring in my leaves, and I'll be back in just a moment to talk about my flowers. Now, I think these flowers actually do look really pretty as white, or maybe even just adding a really, really light color to the center. It would have been really pretty too. I had it in my head to have this kind of periwinkle color. So I picked out some BVs from my Olo marker collection. Again, using 3 marker color combination, I'm going to have the darkest color be towards the center of the flower and then blending it out. So the lightest shade is going to be at the edge of the petal. I color them all pretty much the same way, so I'm just gonna color the couple of them here on screen, and then I'll show you how I start assembling things. I did color these centers with a yellow, but I'm going to skip that because I end up covering it up anyway. And then once everything is completely colored in, I am going to be die cutting out the Morning Glory and also this trellis a couple times from white cardstock. So the trellis, I am going to layer it up with some liquid glue. This is going to help add stability to it and also build up some dimension on the front of my card. I die cut it twice, so I actually have 3 layers all together. Now, I would suggest die cutting those extra pieces from a light brown cardstock, but I actually personally did like the white because if it did show out on the edges a little bit, I think that gave it a little bit of a highlight. Now, I did the same thing with the Morning Glory, but I'm only layering it together once. So here is how it's looking. I love this. I think this came out just even better than I pictured it. For the sentiment, I am using the Special Day Butterfly set. So these have some really pretty images on here and sentiments. I decided I liked this one that just talks about a special day. I'm going to stamp it in pitch black ink onto some white cardstock, although I think heat embossing it in white embossing powder on black cardstock would have looked really nice as well. If you haven't checked out the entire collection from Hero Arts from their spring catalog, I do highly recommend going over there and checking it out on their website. There are some absolutely amazing products that I cannot wait to play with. So, there are lots of other sentiments that you could use or something even from your stash. I stamped mine 3 times to get nice, crisp impression. And then I am going to die cut it out with the coordinating die. I trimmed down my cardstock so that I could fit it through my mini Platinum 6 die cut machine. I die cut out that sentiment 2 more times from white cardstock so I could layer it together. I actually only ended up layering it up 1 more time. I really wanted the stability, not really sure I wanted to add even more depth to it. I'm going to keep the card front pretty simple. I thought about ink blending, I thought about colored cardstock, which would have looked really nice, but I really liked how the coloring came out for both of these die cut images, so I really wanted that to stand out. I added the trellis to the front of an A2 size side folding card base just using my liquid glue. I do set something heavy on it and let that sit for about a minute. And now for the morning glory, I laid it out the way I want it to be on that trellis. And then where the flowers are kind of overlapping some of those open areas of the trellis, I am adding some thin foam squares, and then the rest of the area I will do with liquid glue. And again, just set something heavy on it and let that sit for a minute. And the same thing with the sentiment. I have 2 thin foam squares at the top where it's overlapping the open area of the trellis, and then the liquid glue at the bottom. And I have these gems that were sitting on my desk from a previous project. So I decided they would look really pretty in the center of the flower just to give it a little bit of sparkle. Now, this is a really fun technique that you can do with your alcohol markers and your die cuts if you haven't tried it. I highly recommend it. Also, just give yourself some grace because even though it might look a little scattered at first, it will all come together nicely, and I think you will be really surprised. All of the supplies used will be linked down below in the video description, along with a link to my blog for the color combination for the Olo markers, and also a link to the next person in the video hop. Be sure to head over, check them out, share some love. Let me know down in the comments which product is your favorite. I cannot wait to hear. Thank you all for spending time with me today, and I'll see you again soon.